The Lady Pandor said what? She actually told South Africans that building an Afrikaans university is unacceptable? That we are too complacent with our freedom? That this is somehow part of a battle against racism and colonialism?
You know, the fact that a university that intends to be Afrikaans medium is being built and is receiving hundreds of millions of rands.
Oh, billions.
Is just something, you know, and the only person who comments, Jonathan Jansen. The rest of us were quiet. We too complacent with our freedom. And it's a huge undertaking because what we are battling is centuries of racism and colonialism. And
let me stop you right there, because what she said is not just wrong, it is constitutionally illiterate, and I am going to prove it to you right now using the very document that is supposed to guide everything we do in this country. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Let us start with the most obvious thing. Section 29, subsection 3 of the Constitution explicitly says that everyone has the right to establish and maintain at their own expense independent educational institutions that do not discriminate on the basis of race, are registered with the state, and maintain standards that are not inferior to comparable public institutions. Read that again, everyone, not some people, not only certain language groups, everyone. The Constitution does not say you can only start a university if it uses English. It does not say you can only start a university if it uses an indigenous African language. It says everyone has the right to establish independent educational institutions. Period. Academia is a private university funded entirely by the solidarity movement and private investors. They are not taking a single cent from government coffers. They are using their own money to build something they believe in. And yet Pandor has the audacity to call that unacceptable? On what legal ground? Because there is none. There is literally no provision in the Constitution that prohibits a private Afrikaans university. And then she brings up this nonsense about battling centuries of racism and colonialism. Let me tell you something. The Constitution was not written to erase Afrikaans. The Constitution was written to protect everyone. The Constitution recognizes including Afrikaans, and it places a duty on the state to take practical and positive measures to elevate the status and advance the use of these languages. The state has a constitutional obligation to promote Afrikaans, not to destroy it, not to marginalize it, to promote it. So when a community uses its own resources to build a university that advances their language, they are not undermining transformation. They are exercising a constitutional right. They are doing exactly what the Constitution envisions. Pandor framing this as a colonial project is not only historically dishonest, it is legally baseless. The Constitution does not say we must erase Afrikaans to atone for the past. It says we must build a society where all languages are respected. Now let us talk about equality, because this is where Pandor really exposes her misunderstanding. Section 9 of the Constitution prohibits unfair discrimination on grounds including race, gender, sex, culture, language, and birth. Notice something? Language is listed right there alongside race and gender. That means discrimination on the basis of language is just as serious as discrimination on the basis of race. If Pandor argues that an Afrikaans university is unacceptable simply because it uses Afrikaans, she is discriminating against Afrikaans speakers. She is treating their language as inferior. She is violating the very equality clause she claims to defend. And the irony is that Afrikaans is not even a white language. It is an African language with deep roots in this continent. It is spoken by millions of colored South Africans. By denying them the right to be educated in their mother tongue, Pandor is perpetuating the very exclusion she claims to fight. The Constitutional Court has consistently held that language-based differentiation is not automatically unfair. It may be fair if it serves a legitimate purpose. Protecting and developing a language is a legitimate purpose. There is nothing unfair about a community choosing to educate their children in their own language. And here is the part that really gets me. Pandor says we are too complacent with our freedom. But what is freedom if not the right to make choices about your own life? What is freedom if not the right to use your own money to build institutions that reflect your values and your culture?
We're too complacent with our freedom. And it's a huge undertaking because what we are battling is centuries of racism and colonialism. And people who've had control don't let go easily. So what they do, they find other ways. So they'll get, entrepreneurs who become their tools, who work against you, but you think they're working for what you aspire toward.
She says people who have had control do not let go easily. She says they find other ways. She says they use entrepreneurs as their tools. But who exactly is using whom here? The Afrikaans community is using their own resources to build their own university. That is not a tool of oppression. That is a community exercising agency. That is people taking control of their own future. If Pandor truly believes in transformation, she should celebrate that. She should celebrate a community that is not waiting for the state to do everything for them. She should celebrate people who are building instead of complaining. But instead, she attacks them. She calls their project unacceptable. She implies they are somehow enemies of democracy. That is not leadership. That is prejudice dressed up as principle. Let us also talk about the facts because Pandor conveniently ignores them. Academia is a registered private higher education institution. It offers accredited degrees, BCom, LLB, BEd, BSc, BA. These are real qualifications recognized by the state. The university meets all the quality standards required by law. There is no evidence that it discriminates on the basis of race. None. Zero. In fact, the use of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction does not exclude anyone. Any student of any race who meets the academic requirements and chooses to study in Afrikaans can enroll. That is not discrimination. That is choice. And choice is the foundation of a free society. Pandor wants to present this as some kind of threat to transformation. But the only threat here is to the idea that the state should control everything. The only threat is to the notion that only certain languages deserve to exist in higher education. The Constitution does not support that view. The Constitution supports diversity. It supports pluralism. It supports the right of communities to preserve their heritage. And this brings me to the heart of the matter. The Constitution is not a weapon to be used against your political opponents. It is a sacred document that guarantees rights to everyone. Not just the people you agree with, not just the people who speak the languages you approve of. Everyone. When Pandor says an Afrikaans university is unacceptable, she is not defending the Constitution, she is attacking it. She is saying that some rights are more equal than others. She is saying that some languages are more worthy of protection than others. That is not democracy, that is tyranny of the majority. And it is precisely the kind of thinking the Constitution was designed to prevent. The framers of our Constitution understood that a free society must protect minorities. They understood that language rights are fundamental. They understood that education in your mother tongue is not a luxury. It is a right, and they enshrined that right in the supreme law of the land. So let me be very clear. Naledi Pandor was talking nonsense. Absolute nonsense. The Constitution of South Africa protects the right to establish private educational institutions. It protects the right to use and develop your language. It does not prohibit Afrikaans universities. It does not make them unacceptable. It makes them lawful. It makes them protected. It makes them a legitimate exercise of fundamental rights. And if Pandor does not understand that, she has no business lecturing anyone about constitutional values. The Afrikaans community is not fighting against transformation. They are building, they are investing, they are creating opportunities, and they are doing it within the four corners of the Constitution. That is not something to be condemned. That is something to be celebrated. And to every South African watching this, do not let anyone tell you that your language does not matter. Do not let anyone tell you that your culture is unacceptable. The Constitution is on your side. It protects you. It protects your right to educate your children in the language of your choice. It protects your right to build institutions that reflect your values. It protects your right to be free. Naledi Pandor can say whatever she wants, but the law is clear. The Constitution is clear, and the truth is clear. There is nothing wrong with an Afrikaans university, nothing at all. The only thing wrong here is the attempt to use political power to silence a community and deny them their constitutional rights, and that is something every South African should reject, regardless of their language, regardless of their politics, because today it is Afrikaans. Tomorrow it could be your language, and if we allow this, we betray the very foundation of our democracy. The Constitution is not a suggestion, it is the supreme law, and it says everyone has the right to establish independent educational institutions. Everyone. That includes Afrikaans speakers, that includes you, that includes all of us, and no politician has the right to take that away.